Right after college, I entered an arranged marriage with Ethan. On our first anniversary, I asked for a divorce. But that's when my husband got into a car accident and ended up with a minor concussion. The doctor said his memory has temporarily reverted to when he was 18. I'm screwed. He doesn't even know who I am now. Wait a second, who is this guy clinging to me, kissing and nuzzling me? Wife, what are we to each other? Legally married. Really? Really? A similar conversation had already happened at least 5 times in the last half hour. Each time, Ethan's face would light up, his eyes crinkling into a smile. Like he'd just won the lottery. The fact that he could smile after finding out a total stranger was his wife, he had a great outlook on life. I didn't bring up the divorce. We could only sit down and talk about it after his memory returned. The doctor said that in Ethan's condition, he could be discharged early. Familiar environments are good for memory recovery. The doctor earnestly advised, whatever you two normally like to do as a couple, take him home and do more of it. I agreed, but inwardly, I was mortified. Ethan and I rarely did anything together. Ours was a business alliance, with no emotional foundation. The first time we met, it was just the two of us for dinner. Ethan put food on my plate and got straight to the point, asking, "Ms. Sun, I hear your family has run into some trouble recently?" Then he leaned in and used his thumb to wipe the corner of my mouth. "I can help you solve it." The second time we met, it was a dinner with both our families. Ethan's family demonstrated their sincerity. A massive deal was struck, enough to solve my family company's cash flow problem. My father was grinning from ear to ear. The third time we met was our engagement party. The banquet hall was packed with familiar and unfamiliar faces. I wouldn't let Ethan lead me around to socialize. By the end of the night, I was throwing up in the restroom. When I turned around, I saw Ethan standing just outside, his gaze dark as he watched me. Even now, a year into our marriage, I couldn't say I knew Ethan all that well. Our first kiss was during our wedding photo shoot. The photographer told us to hold each other more intimately, but my body was as stiff as a board. The photographer told us to kiss with more passion, and I asked Ethan if we could just fake the angle. Ethan laughed. "Isn't it a little late to be shy now?" His index finger hooked my chin, and he covered my lips with his. Faced with such an aggressive kiss for the first time, I couldn't retreat. I could only take it. By the end of it, I had wrinkled the front of his suit, and my body went limp, leaning against him for support. The photographer said nothing, just kept snapping photos. Those pictures were shown at our wedding. My friends all said that was the most beautiful shot of the set. My cheeks burned behind my veil. Thinking about it, the thing Ethan and I did most was, well, that. Ethan was handsome, but his body was even better than his face. When we held each other for the wedding photos, I could feel the solid definition of his abs. I was tempted. Very tempted. So on our wedding night, as soon as we got to our new home, I grabbed his collar, pulled him close, and kissed him with abandon. While kissing him, I started fumbling with his buttons. No matter how unfamiliar we were, he was my husband. What was wrong with a little kissing and touching? Ethan chuckled softly. "Why are you nuzzling me like a little puppy? Don't be so impatient. A gift should be unwrapped slowly." But his kiss back was even more ferocious. He bit my lower lip, drawing it in and stealing my breath bit by bit. I hadn't even unbuttoned his shirt before he'd pulled the zipper of my dress all the way down, his hand stroking my smooth back. His breathing was ragged as he explored further, his hand kneading my waist. I definitely hit the jackpot that night. He was one hell of a prize. Though I could barely crawl out of bed the next day. Making me do that with an Ethan whose memory was stuck at 18 felt a little criminal. Especially since we were about to get a divorce. I was pretty sure that even after we divorced, I'd miss his body. The amnesiac Ethan followed me home, buzzing with excitement the moment we walked in. In his current memory, this was his first time in our marital home. "This is the living room. This is the study. You usually sit over there. This is the bedroom. I showed him around, room by room. But when he saw the bed, he started to look bashful. Wife, do we sleep together at night? Of course. Where else would a married couple sleep? We don't just sleep together. We do other things, too, I joked casually. I didn't expect his ears to turn bright red at my words. Oops. I almost forgot his memory was stuck at 18. In his mind, he was probably still a virgin. I cleared my throat to cover my embarrassment, but Ethan leaned in closer. His eyes were full of anticipation. Then can we do that other thing tonight? Huh. His memory might be gone, but his instincts were still there. It felt completely different. The old Ethan was always so confident and in control. I suspected he loved watching me lose myself to his touch. But the Ethan in front of me now was so green. Even his kisses were reverent. He'd close his eyes, lean in slowly, and pause after every single peck. I couldn't take it anymore. I pushed him down on the bed, licking his lips to guide him to open his mouth a little, our tongues tangling softly. After a few moments of soft, lingering kisses, he pulled away. I was a little annoyed. I looked up and saw his ears were beet red, and he was taking deep breaths. Did he forget how to breathe while kissing? How were we supposed to handle the next steps? Looking at this sweet, innocent virgin, a grown man's face with a look of helpless naivete, I was overcome with guilt. Maybe I should just let him off the hook. With that thought, I pulled my clothes back together, ready to get off the bed. But Ethan got anxious, grabbing my hand and asking what was wrong. Did I do something wrong? Was the kiss not good? I didn't mean to pull away, I just couldn't breathe. Wife, kiss me again. I won't pull away, not even if I die. His tone was urgent, his expression earnest. It was a side of him I'd never seen. The old Ethan was always so experienced, guiding me to follow his rhythm. He'd even nuzzle me and laugh when I got shy, saying, "Baby, you're so sensitive." The current Ethan gave me the illusion that he was deeply in love with me. Of course, it was just an illusion. When I didn't respond, Ethan leaned in and pecked the corner of my mouth again. I took his hand and placed it on my waist. He trembled slightly. But the next second, the way he kneaded my waist felt incredibly familiar. His kisses were wild and disorganized, his breathing chaotic. But he was driven by pure momentum, gasping for air when he needed to before diving right back in, shockingly persistent. I wrapped my arms around his neck. When I woke up the next day, it was already noon. My whole body was sore. When Ethan kissed, he was like a sweet, innocent virgin, and I was wondering how I was going to have to guide him. But when it came to the main event, it was like his memory had been fully restored. Muscle memory is a terrifying thing. The only difference was that the amnesiac Ethan loved to kiss. Even at the most intense moments, he wouldn't forget to lean in and steal a kiss. It got to the point where I was annoyed, telling him to stop interrupting to kiss me. But he misunderstood, insisting on multitasking. He kept me in a tangled kiss for nearly an hour while still working hard elsewhere. My moans were all trapped in my throat. My lips were completely numb. Wife, what do you want to eat? Ethan asked, leaning over the edge of the bed, his eyes shining as he stared at me. Right now, I really didn't want to see him. But thinking it over, I couldn't really blame him. Whatever, I said dismissively. I was still in a daze when Ethan carried me to the dining room. Looking at the unappetizing dish on the table, I hesitated to even pick up my chopsticks. But Ethan's eager eyes made me close mine and take a bite. It was actually pretty good. This was the first time he had ever cooked for me. Wife, is it good? It's good. Then I'll cook for you from now on. He smiled at me again. I couldn't help but think about how things used to be. When we first got married, Ethan and I were always busy. At night, after the housekeeper had cooked and left, we would eat in silence at the dining table. Ethan would occasionally try to start a conversation, but I would always respond with disinterest. He was trying so hard to play the part of a good husband. But I didn't need it. The essence of our marriage was mutual benefit. And yet, this Ethan was making me feel loved. I patted my head, reminding myself. Ethan was a grown man. I couldn't let his 18-year-old innocence fool me. Ethan's grandfather came to the house to see him. I sat ramrod straight, not daring to make a sound. When our families first arranged the marriage, Ethan's grandfather had been against it. He wanted Ethan to find someone from a family of our caliber. The Sun family, they aren't worthy of us. I never knew how Ethan eventually convinced him. Nor did I know why Ethan chose me as his marriage partner in the first place. His grandfather sat in the living room, not giving me a second glance. "Are you feeling better?" "Grandpa, it's nothing serious anymore." Ethan was wearing a clean, pressed shirt, his posture perfect. His tone was respectful but not servile, making him seem both noble and distant. Compared to the Ethan who on my bedside, this was the man I remembered. "Since you're better, you can't neglect your work at the company. Starting tomorrow, you can start catching up online." After seeing his grandfather out, Ethan slumped into my arms. "What's wrong?" I asked, catching him. I found this side of him a little cute. Ethan mumbled, "I have to work. I can't be with you all the time anymore." I couldn't help but laugh. "Who's with whom?" "I'm the one who cleared my schedule to take care of you." Ethan still wouldn't let go, nuzzling against me. He was like a little kid who didn't want to go to kindergarten. These past few days, while Ethan worked from his home office, I enjoyed the leisure, reading and tending to my flowers. Ethan also became increasingly clingy. He wanted me every single night. I got so tired I had to lay down some ground rules. We agree on a number of times, and that's it. Don't pretend you forgot and keep going. Ethan whined pitifully, "That's so hard, wife. If you can't, we can sleep in separate rooms." I wasn't in the mood to coddle him. I was wrong, I'll promise, okay? This version of Ethan was cute, too. The old Ethan had always felt so distant. This felt more like we were actually building a life together. Sigh, what am I going to do when it's time to talk about the divorce? Ethan officially started working from home, with his secretary occasionally dropping off documents. Maybe work was too tiring, because recently, Ethan would cling to me in his spare time, asking about his life before he lost his memory. "Wife, how did we get married?" His eyes sparkled as he spoke, leaning over to wrap his arms around me. My head was heavy with sleep, but I had to rally to answer him. "We were set up on a blind date." After hearing that, Ethan held me tighter, burying his head in my shoulder. What was he thinking? He didn't even know to chase after you himself, he had to rely on a setup. See? I know how to cherish my wife. Listening to his tone, you'd think he was some other guy trying to horn in on his own marriage. "I'm not worthy of that," I said with a self-deprecating laugh. He let go of me and stared at me seriously. "Wife, why would you say that about yourself?" "You deserve the best," he said, pecking at the corner of my mouth. I was wide awake now. This Ethan was so sweet, it was tempting to just let myself sink into it. What about the proposal? Did he propose? Nope. There was never anything like a proposal. The day after our engagement party, Ethan dragged me to City Hall to get our marriage license, as if he was afraid I'd run away. For a while, it made me suspect he had some kind of secret problem. It wasn't until later, after I experienced things, that I put that fear to rest. After hearing what I said, Ethan pursed his lips and went quiet. I pinched his cheek. "Why so unhappy?" "I'm a little mad at myself." I burst out laughing. How could this Ethan be so adorable? "Wife, he didn't propose to you. I'll make it up to you." I dropped my hand from his cheek and said jokingly, "A proposal only counts if it's before the wedding. If you want to make it up to me, does that mean we have to get divorced first?" "Don't say divorce." Ethan cut me off before I could finish. "Not in this lifetime." He snuggled up to me, his gaze burning. "Don't even think about it." "But." "Don't say it, don't bring it up, don't even hypothesize about it. Ethan went on and on with his don'ts for a while. The thought of divorce cast a shadow over my sunny mood. But I wanted to live in the moment, to hold on to what was right in front of me. So I kissed him. I get it. Stop lecturing. Ethan was still staring at me, his eyes holding something I couldn't read. My secretary said you wanted to divorce me. My heart sank at his words. Then I saw the restrained madness in his eyes. She was lying to me, right? Looking at this Ethan, without admitting it, I knew I was starting to like him. Maybe more than a little. I don't want a divorce. It must have been a misunderstanding, I said, subconsciously trying to brush it off. I turned and straddled him. He followed my lead, his hands settling on my waist. Wife, can we go on a few more honeymoons? I curved my lips into a smile. Let's just get through tonight first. Ethan burst out of the study, his eyes red as he stared at me. I almost dropped the watering can in my hand. What's wrong? Wife, what is this? Ethan's hand trembled as he held out a document. It was the divorce agreement I had hidden on the bookshelf. I couldn't hide it anymore. Even though this was decided long ago, my heart still pounded seeing him discover it now. Wife, why are you divorcing me? What did I do wrong? Tell me, and I'll change anything. Don't divorce me. If you leave me, I'll die. Tears streamed down his cheeks. He looked so pitiful. I took the divorce papers from his hand. Don't overthink it. We'll talk when you get your memory back. Ethan just stared at me, clinging to my hand, refusing to let me go, showing a rare flash of stubbornness. I sighed softly and, right in front of him, tore the divorce agreement to shreds. We're not talking about this. I forced the matter closed. In the days that followed, whenever Ethan tried to bring it up, I would kiss him. He looked so wronged every time I kissed him. You never used to kiss me first, but now you kiss me whenever I mention divorce. Why do you want to divorce me? Wife, say something. I was speechless. How am I supposed to talk when you're covering my mouth? Ethan realized the problem and let go of my hand. I stuck my tongue out at him. I'm not telling. If I let you know the reason, we'd probably have to get divorced right now. Why do you want to divorce me? Can we not talk about this? Then promise me you won't divorce me. I couldn't make that promise. Ethan was relentless, desperate for a promise from me. I didn't know why Ethan was so attached to a wife he barely knew. Maybe he was a traditional guy who felt he had to be responsible for me. Just like he was before he lost his memory. After a night of passion, Ethan used a towel to gently clean me up, then went into the bathroom himself. The sound of the shower was a constant, rhythmic patter, like a lullaby. In a half-dreaming state, I realized Ethan seemed to have been in there for a very long time. On a whim, I sat up, walked to the bathroom, and pushed open the door. I saw a scene I will never forget. Ethan's left arm was covered in blood. From his upper arm, down his forearm, to his palm. He was holding a small knife in his right hand, trembling. When he saw me, Ethan fumbled to hide the knife and his cut arm behind his back. A scream caught in my throat, and all that came up was a sour taste. He looked down like a little kid who'd done something wrong. His hidden arm was still dripping blood, the red slowly blooming on the tile behind him. But he looked so innocent, as if someone else had placed him in that pool of blood. I rushed out of the room, tearing through cabinets and drawers, searching for our first aid kit. When I returned to the bathroom, Ethan was leaning against the sink in defeat. He stared at his arm, letting the blood flow, his eyes devoid of any warmth. I could read a hint of self-loathing in his posture. Give me your arm, I said, my voice cold and hard. He looked up, staring straight at me, and something in his eyes seemed to reignite. Wife, I thought you were leaving me. Without another word, I grabbed his arm. Disinfectant, ointment, bandages. Ethan hissed in pain. If you're scared of the pain, then don't do things like this. Wife, are you mad at me? I repeated to myself, deep breaths, deep breaths. Don't hold it against him. Don't get angry at him. But the words that came out were choked with tears. It's the middle of the night and you're in here hurting yourself. Are you insane? He was silent for a long time before finally confessing, when I think about you leaving me, life feels meaningless. Wife, just think of it as a dress rehearsal. I promise I won't die before we actually get divorced. What kind of promise was that? My tears flowed like an unstoppable flood. I was so angry I wanted to shake him awake. But looking at his pitiful state, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I sighed helplessly. I took his arm again to see if there was anything else I needed to treat. The next second, I spotted old, faded scars on his arm. They were very faint, almost invisible. I had never noticed them before. What are these? I asked, pointing to the newly discovered marks. He immediately tried to pull his arm back. You've been doing this since before? When? Do you remember? Was it before you were 18 or after? My voice grew more urgent, laced with sobs, making it sound like I was yelling at him. That wasn't my intention, but I couldn't control it. The moment I saw those scars, my heart clenched with pain. He just looked down, refusing to speak, his expression set with a teenager's stubbornness. If you don't tell me, then we're getting a diver. Realizing I had almost said the word again, I slammed the brakes on my sentence. But it was too late. Ethan had heard it. His eyes dimmed, but I still caught the despair he failed to hide. I'm sorry. I misspoke. I shouldn't have used that to threaten you. I moved closer and hugged him gently. The still wet blood stained my white nightgown. But in that moment, neither of us cared. Ethan kissed me fiercely. My cheeks grew damp with something wet, and then I tasted his bitter tears. He lifted me onto the bathroom counter with one arm, deepening the kiss. We kissed, desperately, like our lives depended on it. I could feel his pain in his chaotic, clumsy movements. Wife, was I good? Give me another chance. When he tried to lift me to clean me up, I gently pushed him away, steadying myself against the wall. Your hand can't get wet right now. Ethan stared at his left arm, looking utterly defeated. I kissed him. You did very well today. We have our whole lives. There's no rush. The next day, I decided to have a serious talk with Ethan. But he suddenly refused to say anything. The moment he saw me approach, he'd pretend to be nonchalant and retreat into the study. The look in his eyes was deep and unreadable. I walked straight into the study, shoved aside his mountain of files, and sat on his desk. I tapped his knee with the tip of my foot. Don't hide. This time, Ethan was obedient. When I told him not to hide, he didn't. Your arm. Let's talk about it. No. TSK. Not so obedient after all. I moved my foot up, pressing it against his heart. His hand covered the top of my foot, his breathing quickening. Wife, maybe we could try it in the study today. I smiled brightly. In the study? Sure. He leaned in, impatient to press me down for a kiss. I dodged him, using my foot to push him back. You have to be honest with me first. Ethan was silent for a moment. What happened with the old scars? Ethan was struggling, looking miserable. Finally, he forced the words out, one by one. For a while, I felt like nobody in the world loved me. It turned out that when Ethan was 18, his grandmother passed away. His parents were busy with work and had no time for him. On top of that, their relationship was bad, and the house was filled with constant arguments. They barely paid any attention to his feelings. The person who had raised him was his grandmother. After she died, Ethan felt like his life had lost all meaning. He didn't know what he was living for. Around that time, his parents were arranging for him to study abroad. The thought of going to a completely unfamiliar place overwhelmed him with a giant sense of loneliness. So he started hurting himself, trying to use the pain to confirm he was still alive. My heart ached as I hugged him. What happened after? Later, I fell in love with someone. She was wonderful. She made me feel like the world was a wonderful place, too. I listened, stunned. So Ethan had loved someone with all his heart. For some reason, I felt a pang of jealousy. Ethan pulled me onto his lap and nuzzled the corner of my mouth. "Wife, you said I lost my memory. But is it possible that you were the one who forgot first?" Ethan refused to say more, but he did remember to follow through on our deal in the study. After a satisfying session, he kissed me gently again. "Wife, I love you so much." "If you love me, then stop hurting yourself," I said irritably. Ethan chuckled softly and hugged me tight. I saw a flash of cunning in his eyes. Maybe it was just my imagination. In the afternoon, his secretary brought over some documents. As she was leaving, while Ethan was looking down to sort the files, she leaned in and whispered to me, "Miss Sun, shouldn't you hurry up with the divorce? Mister, he only didn't find out because of the car accident. He's forgotten now, but when he remembers and finds out you've been deceiving him, it won't end well. You'd better watch yourself, Miss Sun." I stared at her, biting my lip. It was like being woken up just as a beautiful dream was ending. Ethan was still sorting through the files, but a single sheet of paper fluttered out from the stack. My mind was a mess, and I had no time to think. But I saw him pick it up, read it carefully, and then look at me in shock. I saw a cruel smile on his lips. "This is why you wanted to divorce me?" It was as if he was pronouncing my fate. This Ethan was too familiar. So familiar that I could no longer deceive myself. "When did you remember?" I asked, my head down, my voice muffled. The moment I spoke, the expression on Ethan's face cracked. "I didn't." "Don't lie to me." Ethan fell silent. Was it fun watching me panic? It was okay. What kind of answer was that? But Ethan smiled at me. "It's rare to see you care about me." He handed me the paper. It clearly stated my medical situation. The doctor said the chances of me getting pregnant were minuscule. I had always been clear about the nature of our arranged marriage, especially since the gap between my family and Ethan's was significant. It was hard to believe that Ethan chose me as his marriage partner out of love. This report essentially declared that I had lost my value in our alliance. So my only choice was to take a step back and file for divorce. And not waste any more of Ethan's time. On our first anniversary, the test results came out and were immediately sent to Ethan's grandfather. The secretary giving them to Ethan now was likely on his orders. Fate had already delivered its verdict before I could even argue, not that I had any right to. "If you want to divorce me because of this," Ethan leaned close to my mouth and gave me a light kiss, filled with an almost imperceptible tenderness. "Don't even think about it." My heart was a desolate landscape. It was better to let each other go sooner rather than later. It's not just because of this, I forced myself to look up and meet his gaze. I've realized that there should be love in a marriage, and we don't have that. Hearing this, Ethan let out a laugh that was more angry than amused. "You think we don't? Then what were all those kisses lately? What was you comforting me? Or do you just like the fool who would cry for you and hurt himself for you? If you like that, I can be that guy right now." As he spoke, he started to walk out of the study. I was terrified he would hurt himself again, so I grabbed onto him tightly. "Ethan, I don't want to waste any more of your time. If we divorce now, you can find someone better, someone you like more." Ethan froze. "What do you take me for? And what do you take yourself for? There is no one better or that I could like more." He leaned in close to my ear. "Because I already met the person I like most when I was 18. Ethan told me a story. In the month before his high school break, his feelings of despair grew stronger. After the break, he was supposed to leave his familiar city for a foreign country. It made life feel meaningless. So he climbed to the school rooftop, leaned against the doorframe, and silently watched the sun go down. The phone in his pocket vibrated incessantly. It was probably his family's driver looking for him. He ignored it. Only the last sliver of the sunset remained. Now seems like the time, Ethan thought. He stood up straight and walked toward the edge of the roof. But a girl grabbed him. Don't get too close, it's dangerous. You could fall. Are you unhappy? If you are, you can talk to me about it. Ethan turned to see a girl with a high ponytail and an urgent expression on her face. She felt warmer to him than the sun had that day. It turned out the girl had also been sitting on the roof for a long time. She said she was sunbathing. This is the highest point in the school, closest to the sun. After that day, Ethan went to the school rooftop every day, waiting for the girl to arrive. He never told her about his pain, only sharing amusing stories from school. The girl always listened patiently, laughing happily. Ethan's heart began to beat wildly. He thought maybe he could establish a new connection in this world. But one day, when he went, she wasn't there. Maybe she got busy with schoolwork, or maybe she didn't want to entertain his nonsense anymore. Ethan tried to find her around school but couldn't, though he at least confirmed she wasn't a senior. He went abroad with regret and reluctance, thinking he would definitely find her when he came back. Years passed. By the time Ethan returned to the country, his youthful longing was packed away and hidden. The reason he had tried so hard to live had gradually blurred. Until the day his mother dragged a matchmaker to their house, showing him photos and demanding he pick a girl for a blind date. Ethan was about to refuse when he saw a familiar face. Who is this? The Sun family's daughter, the matchmaker said eagerly. The Suns are a bit below our station, but their daughter is impressive. Smart, well-educated, beautiful, she has it all. Ethan stared at the photo. He would never forget that face. Everything was reigniting. I want her. Only her, Ethan said, pointing at the photo. After hearing Ethan's story, I was too shocked to speak. So the despondent-looking person on the school roof was him. My impression of Ethan had always been of someone confident and successful. I had never connected the two. And now you're telling me they're the same person? My brain practically short-circuited. Back then, why did you stop coming? I let out a guilty laugh. I hadn't finished my homework. It wasn't an excuse. Toward the end of the semester, the amount of homework multiplied, and I could never finish it, let alone have the leisure to go sunbathe on the roof. The expression on Ethan's face froze. It took him a long moment to accept this explanation. So, do you still want a divorce? Now that you know I like you, do you still want a divorce? Or do you just like the foolish, 18-year-old Ethan? Should I have confessed to you back then? I guess I just lacked a bit of courage. Ethan got closer and closer as he spoke, until I was almost completely enveloped in his arms. My brain was mush. All I could see was Ethan's face. I had to admit, he was very good-looking. I was barely even hearing what he was saying anymore. So I hooked my arm around his neck, pulled him forward, and kissed him deeply. Ethan was surprised by my sudden move, then bent down to let me kiss him more comfortably. No divorce, I heard myself say. Talking about divorce after knowing he liked me would be too cruel to him. And I had to admit, I did like him a little. How we ended up in bed, nobody knows. Afterward, I was held tightly in Ethan's arms, our ragged breathing still not settled. Ethan's phone rang. He kept one arm around me and picked it up with the other. Tucked in his arms, I couldn't avoid hearing the conversation. The Sun family's daughter is not an option. Find someone else, it was Ethan's grandfather. Ethan leaned over and gave me a silent, reassuring kiss. I only want her. Ethan, don't be foolish. You're the only heir to the He family. Grandpa, don't push me, and don't push her. If you chase her away, I'll go get a vasectomy. Then it won't matter how many new granddaughters-in-law you find. The old man was so furious he just stuttered you, for a while, unable to form a complete sentence. Get some rest. With that, Ethan hung up. I propped myself up to look at him. What's wrong? You're not going to mention divorce again, are you? Don't even think about it. The first time you said it, I was so scared I could barely hold the steering wheel straight. No, I was just thinking that after I found out you knew my memory was back, you stopped calling me wife. I saw Ethan's ears turn red, little by little. He cleared his throat and said shyly, wife. If you like it, I'll say it more. Wife. I hugged him, completely content. So when did you remember? It was actually that time in the study. Okay, stop talking. Now it was my turn to blush. That time had been a bit intense. But I never thought it could be intense enough to restore someone's memory. You're blushing, wife. You really don't have to point that out. I buried my head in his chest. Wife, do you like the current me more, or the amnesiac me? Don't tell me you're going to be jealous of yourself? Because I feel like you were more enthusiastic when I had amnesia. I covered his mouth. Keep your voice down. Is that something to be proud of? That was because I was afraid you weren't experienced. Wife, I'm not experienced now either. He moved over me and kissed me.